Now, Sergio Garcia normally plays in Spain on the DP World Tour, but he did not over the weekend. Garcia seems poised to forfeit his DP World Tour membership. He's played just 3 European events this season: Dubai Desert Classic, the BMW International, and the BMW PGA. The minimum to maintain membership is 4 events, including 3 Rolex Series events, along with a tournament in his home country, which Garcia has not played. Losing his European membership, or his DP World Tour membership, I should say, would mean Garcia would not be eligible for next year's Ryder Cup. Now, this is what Sergio had to say recently to Sports Illustrated, saying, "I've always said I love the Ryder Cup too much. I obviously would love to keep being a part of it. When I see that so many people are against me, if the team is better without me, I'd rather be out of it. There's obviously several guys who feel strongly that way. The tour is on that same thought. So I don't want to be something that might hurt the team. I love the Ryder Cup too much. Obviously, it's sad for me how much I love the Ryder Cup and everything I've been able to do with Europe there. That's the way they want it. I'm just helping out." And with that, we welcome in Ewan Murray of The Guardian, who joins us now from his home, a great writer and covers European golf and golf globally as well. Ewan, good to see you, my man. What are you taking away from what Sergio said to Sports Illustrated after what it seems to be forfeiting his DP World Tour membership?
Firstly, great to join you guys as well. The first thing I took was that Sergio's playing the victim to a large extent here. That his words and what he said there is as if he has been badly treated. He has been put upon, poor me. And I think that's a little bit over the top. I think it's a little bit out of line with what's actually happened. But I think the important thing to reflect on here is you mentioned the tournament, the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Now, that was a week, if you remember, in the UK, the Queen died that week. The tournament was disrupted and the whole country's narrative obviously switched well away from golf. But a couple of important things happened that week. Firstly, Keith Pelley, the chief executive of the European Tour Group, addressed players on the Tuesday night. And for the first time in that meeting, he debunked and spoke out against Sergio's previous claim that the tour could become the 5th tour in the world. Keith Pelley had never spoken out against that to anyone, but he ridiculed it really in front of the players. Now, that was one thing, but Keith Pelley then on the Wednesday came and sat in front of the British golf media and repeated those comments and publicly kind of gave Sergio Garcia a dressing down for the 5th tour comment that he made. Now, the fact that Keith Pelley did that publicly surprised live golfers. I know that because one of them came to me immediately and asked, "How do you know what was said at this meeting on Tuesday night?" Well, I knew because Keith Pelley repeated it in a media conference. So this was a public laceration of what Sergio had said. And if you fast forward a day, Sergio plays 1 round in the BMW at Wentworth. Obviously, Friday there was no golf because of the death of the Queen. But Sergio, after 1 round, flew back to the United States. Was pictured at the college football, I think I'm right in saying, at the weekend. And at that point, it struck me that the chain of events was such that the relationship between Sergio and his home tour was beyond repair. And at that point, I thought it was inconceivable he would feature in the Ryder Cup.
Ewan, it wasn't necessarily even just the withdrawal at Wentworth with Sergio. He was reported as having made some fairly strident comments towards his fellow European Tour players in a locker room in Germany earlier this summer as well. And then we've heard players like Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry, guys like that, talk about the desire not to have live golfers on the Ryder Cup team. Do you think there's been a hardening of sentiment among players against Sergio just because of this, I guess, the petulance that seems to follow him everywhere?
Yeah, you're talking about the Porsche European Open in Germany in June. That's also a great point. I mean, what he said in that locker room really upset and affronted a lot of rank and file DP World Tour members. That was petulant, as you said. And I can't get away from the fact, I think this is all quite sad. You and I have seen Sergio and Rory play practice rounds at normal tournaments. I've seen Sergio at close quarters around the Ryder Cup. And he's been such a huge part of that for so many years. And I can't get away from the fact it's sad that it's come to this. But I do chuckle, as I'm sure you will, Eamon, at this portrayal by Sergio himself that he has been mistreated and he's been forced out of something. Because from what I can see from his own behaviour, a lot of this is very much of his own volition.
I mean, there's no doubt there was respect for him as a player, but considering what has happened surrounding Sergio Garcia, especially, well, throughout his career, but especially over the last 6 months or so, what do you think his legacy will be for European fans?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. He hasn't been around enough. You know, that one round at Wentworth wasn't enough to assess what people truly think. And you know, we can't get away from the fact that I think it was unlikely he would be a playing part of the Ryder Cup again, possibly this next one, but his form over recent times doesn't suggest he would play. So what we have lost, like quite a few of these guys, like Lee Westwood, like Ian Poulter, in a European sense, we've lost vice-captains and captains and people around and involved in the Ryder Cup scene rather than key players anymore. Actually, I think that's a fundamental difference to your side, to the United States, because I think Johnson, Koepka, DeChambeau, they are big, you know, and would be integral playing parts of the Ryder Cup for the foreseeable future. I don't think that applies to the European guys, including Sergio. In terms of his reputation, you know, European golf fans aren't really known for caustic or nasty comment towards golfers, but I do sense that there's disappointment, and like I just tried to articulate there, I think there's a bit of sadness, you know, towards Sergio that it's come to this. I mean, even the DP World Tour currently is in the middle of a 3-week run in Spain. John Ram played and won last week, and we'll come on to the weekend, I'm sure. But, you know, as these events are going on in Spain, you know, Spanish golf is so important to Sergio. We think and assume he's playing in Bangkok and he's playing in Saudi Arabia for massive amounts of guaranteed live money. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and I think rightly so.
Well, a couple of the guys you mentioned who were also in Jeddah engaging in some social media sniping, Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, they got into a spat over the weekend with Eddie Pepperell, who's also been a fairly vocal loyalist for the DP World Tour at this point. Do you sense that the animosity that exists between the Tour loyalists and the Live guys is breaking out into the open more and it's getting a little testier?
Eamon, as you know, I'm well attuned to social media sniping because of my own comments, so I tend to keep out of ones that don't directly involve me, so I kept well out of this. But I watched this with interest at the weekend. Listen, part of me actually admires Westwood and Poulter, especially for trying so hard to defend themselves. I disagree completely with their point of view, but if they want to fight their corner, part of me thinks fair enough. Eddie Pepperell has, as you said, become increasingly vocal against what the Live guys have done, in the sense of trying to, you know, come back and have their cake and eat it in a European sense. That's what grates with a lot of players such as Eddie. Part of me also wonders, Eamon, I don't know what you think, but part of me wonders if this is perhaps deliberate, because there's now tribalism in golf as there hasn't been before. And I do wonder if this is partly manufactured to create noise and create people taking sides. But, you know, as I say, you know, I do chuckle at people saying how distasteful it is. I think from a media point of view, it's very good fun to watch.
Ewan, the great golf correspondent for the Guardian and the Observer. Hey, I appreciate your insight as always. Enjoy your evening there in the UK.
Hope to see you guys soon.